Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video called Americans Travel to Europe, Then Get Angry It Is in America. So I think this is a commonplace thing. I think a lot of people, it happens mostly in the United States. People think the rest of the world is like that, but it isn't because it's a different continent. So I'm a little scared about what kind of things we're going to be listening or reading about, but let's check it out and comment, like, and subscribe. Okay, heavy sigh, credit cards left down. Please tell me your rooms have air conditioning. It's unbearable outside. I glanced at the display behind the desk. 18 degrees Celsius, 64 Fahrenheit. He wiped his forehead dramatically. His wife leaned in and whispered, is your water safe? I don't know what this is, but yeah, of course, it's Celsius versus Fahrenheit. I think, and 18 degrees, it's really, that's 64. Yeah, it's not that bad. I think it's unbearable. It's 18 degrees. Calm down. I was working the front desk at a small hotel near the canals when the American family arrived dragging suitcase like survivors. The father repeated himself slowly as if volume equaled clarity. Air conditioning, we need it. I nodded, checked them in, and handed over keys without comment. I'm gonna guess that was the Netherlands because of the canals, but still, I think it's really the cliche that Americans just cannot handle any type of heat. They just need air conditioning at all times. So I think that's it. I get it when it's really hot, but I don't know. I want to know how many degrees it was outside. Well, I processed payment. The mother watched me suspiciously. So, you actually drink the tap water here? I said yes. She frowned. But we're not in America. I paused, searching for the right response. There wasn't one. I smiled politely. She didn't smile back. Yeah, but I think that's I think that's kind of offensive, right? You think the tap water is not safe. It's unsafe because it's not in the United States. So of course it's not going to be safe. Drinking the tap water, you only want bottled water, which I think it's kind of, I don't know. I think it's a little, some places in the US, it's not safe to tap water either. So I don't know what's up with that. Okay, later that evening, the same father returned. Your room is cold, he complained. I reminded him the window open. He shook his head. That's not real cooling. I suggested adjusting expectations. He looked offended. Cooling, I learned, it was not a temperature. It was a belief system. Oh, okay. It was not a temperature. It was a belief system. He thought, what? You need, I don't know, you need something, you can't adjust it? I don't know. I don't really understand. Was not a temperature. Oh, maybe he thought you can just put it in cold. I don't know. I don't know what's up with that, actually. I'm a little confused by that. Yeah, because what? Okay, move on. That week, my coworker told me about American Gas, asking where the nearest Walmart was. I wonder what place this was. She pointed to our local grocery store. He squinted at it. That's it, she explained. Europeans shop smaller more often. He laughed. That sounds exhausting. Don't you plan ahead? Sure, it's exhausting to go out every 3 days, but it's not exhausting to just go and shop a lot for about 2 weeks worth of groceries. I think it's crazy. I don't think that doesn't seem right to me. He walked inside, came back out minutes later, confused. Where's the rest of the store? She said. That is the store. He shook his head slowly, like someone realizing society had made a tragic mistake. How do you survive without bulk buying? I think it's really funny. A little sad as well, the concept of an American person does not know the concept of not bulk buying, just buying, for the week or buying for a couple of days. I think that's a little sad if you ask me. When she explained daily shopping was normal, he muttered, that's inefficient, as if he discovered a design flaw in Europe itself. He left without buying anything, convinced convenience was a universal standard Europe had simply failed to adopt. Yeah, he probably was, oh my god, this is the worst content ever. I can't believe they don't buy in bulk. Another guest approached my desk holding a crumpled dollar bill. Do you take real money? I asked what he meant. He pointed at the bill. This, I explained, we use euros. His face tightened. Why doesn't Europe just use dollars? It'd be easier. Easier for who? For you, of course, but not for Europeans. You know, the people that actually live there. That's crazy. I think the equivalent would be to go to the United States and try to pay in euros to see, but it would be more convenient. We use it all over this continent. I suggested a currency exchange. He sighed deeply. This is so inconvenient. I almost said, so he's expecting the world to match your wallet. Instead, I smiled and gave direction. He left annoyed, convinced Europe was being difficult on purpose. It's crazy to me how people just travel all over the world without I don't know. Haven't you done your research? How are you going to pay for things? What's the exchange rate? What currency they use? This is the pattern most people miss. These aren't loud confrontations. They're quiet moments where expectation collides with reality. Confidence disguises confusion. Entitlement masks unfamiliarity. Nothing is explicitly demanded, yet everything is framed as if the system is malfunctioning. Yeah, I think it doesn't come from a place of, oh, I don't really know what this is. It just comes from a place of, oh, I am expecting this to cater to me. And I think that's where the disconnect comes from. That's why people are offended. Sunday evening, a woman stormed up the desk. Why is everything closed? I checked the time, 7 p.m. I explained Sunday hour. She stared at me, but I need to shop. I mentioned night store. She scoffed. In American things stay open. I'm gonna be the one saying I can agree with her, with the annoying person here. I like things to be open at all times. Although I get it, I understand. I think it's probably about getting used to this, because I think if you get used to it, you're not gonna be asked. You plan ahead. But a part of me wants to go, it should be open at all times. How do you people live like this? She asked genuinely. I suggested planning ahead. Exactly. She walked away muttering about backward systems, as if work rest was a bug, not a feature. That night I realized many visitors don't adapt. They compare and judge. Yeah, that's true. I think obviously if you adapt because you're moving or something, of course you're going to have to. You have to change your ways, change your mindset. And even if you're visiting, of course, things are going to be different. That's why you're traveling abroad or you're traveling somewhere new. Of course, it's not going to be the same. That's why you're not home. In Brussels, an American man arrived furious. His stranger peers had departed. Why didn't it wait? I explained schedules. I was only 5 minutes late. He leaned closer. Do you know who I am? I'm American. Trains should wait. Okay, that's just crazy to me. That's just, no, come on, man. No. Trains should wait because you're what? You're American because you have better, I don't know, you're a better thing? What? I blinked, unsure if he was joking. He wasn't. I calmly explained trains leave on time for everyone. He demanded a manager. The manager said the same thing. He left angry, convinced fairness was hostility when it didn't favor him. Okay, this person absolutely entitled. No, he deserved to. Actually, I don't feel bad he lost his train. My cousin manages reservations at a Michelin-starred restaurant. An American couple arrived without booking. We're from America, the man said, flashing his passport. Fully booked. The man added, do you know how much money we spend traveling? Okay. I guarantee those people, the ones dining here, are spending more money. First of all, they just spend more money. Nothing changed. They left a one-star review accusing the restaurant of being anti-American. My cousin told me this happens often. Some guests believe presence unlocks its currency, and refusal feels personal, not procedural. Yeah, of course, that's insane. No, of course, and it's kind of, again, the entitlement if they feel as an, oh yeah, I'm going to go to a 5-star restaurant, a Michelin restaurant, and I'm going to go without no booking ahead, no reservations. That's crazy. That's insane. Entitlement doesn't announce itself, it whispers. It assumes systems aren't negotiable if identity is important enough. When rules apply equally, some people experience that not as fairness, but as rejection. The culture shock isn't about Europe, it's about losing automatic priority. I think, yeah, it's just entitlement. Of course, they feel better because they come from the United States. Are you crazy? No, of course not. It's insane to me. The whole, I don't know, it's just crazy. A friend guiding tours in Rome told me Americans kept interrupting, but American won World War II, so we saved you. He redirected to Asian history. Someone asked, if not for us, would you even be free? He stopped correcting them and moved on. I think it's crazy to bring up World War II in ancient Rome. It's, what on earth? It's not the topic. And either way, it's kind of crazy. Why are you discussing this? This is a tour. A barista in Vienna told me about an American ordering a cappuccino to go. Large size, extra foam, caramel drizzle. The barista explained cappuccinos are served in porcelain cups meant to be enjoyed slowly. The customer frowned. Can't you just make it normal? A normal cappuccino? And I can't even imagine. It was in Vienna. I don't know how things are in Vienna, but I can just imagine their faces when they asked for a caramel drizzle. Definitely they didn't order sort of, I don't know, a sugar-free caramel, whatever. They were going to be, what on earth? When the barista mentioned Viennese coffee traditions, the customer interrupted. In America, the customer's always right. The barista nodded and made it exactly as requested. Afterwards, he asked quietly, why come to Vienna if you don't want Vienna? That's absolutely true. I kind of agree with them. If you don't want the real experience of the place where you're traveling, then stay at home, and then you can be perfectly comfortable, and then you get all the things that you always wanted. At a hotel buffet in Germany, an American guest complained loudly. Why is all the bread so hard? His wife joined in. And where's the peanut butter? A German guest nearby explained the bread was traditional. The American scoffed. Have you tried Wonder Bread? Oh my god, I think that's just offensive. How are you going to compare real bread to Wonder Bread, which I don't think is actually bread? It classifies, I think, as bread because they can't classify it as anything else. But Wonder Bread, is it really bread? I don't know. Your mileage may vary. The German smiled politely and returned to eating. The American shook his head in disbelief. That's real bread, he insisted, gesturing proudly toward an imaginary loaf thousands of miles away. It's crazy, and you're correct. I think German bread is one of the most delicious things in the world, so it's kind of crazy to me that you would prefer Wonder Bread, which is not real bread. It just tastes plasticky, and you're actually thinking that's better than the real thing? It's insane. My sister works at a museum in Amsterdam. An American visitor asked why descriptions were in Dutch and English. Why not English? She explained this was the Netherlands. He sighed, English is the global language. This is confusing. I'm loving the idea of telling a Dutch person, no, don't English. English is the global language. How come no one speaks this? It's kind of crazy. And actually, it's kind of, again, it's a sense of entitlement because the descriptions were actually in English as well. I mean, imagine comparing, I don't know, French or a French-speaking person or any other languages. Be glad that things in English. She pointed out the English translations already provided. He wasn't satisfied. I shouldn't have to see Dutch everywhere. In the Netherlands? It was his first time abroad. He was genuinely upset other countries had languages of their own. Again, the American sort of education system, I don't know it found dead on a ditch. At this point, frustration isn't about success, it's about worldview. These travelers don't see themselves entering another system. They expect the system to recognize them as the default. When it doesn't, they interpret neutrality as hostility. I wholeheartedly agree with this. I think it's just, and they take offense so easily as well. In Barcelona, an American asked why signs were in Spanish and Catalan. I explained regional languages. He frowned. Isn't Spain just Spanish? When I compared cultural differences between US states, he shook his head. No, we all speak English. It's simpler. Well, yeah, the whole thing about Barcelona and Spain, it's a whole other different thing. But yeah, of course, they have other languages. It happens. I mean, this is not a hard concept to grasp. Other countries have different languages. That's it. That's how it happens. Complexity, I realized, wasn't the problem. That wasn't the problem. Difference was he didn't want explanation. He wanted uniformity. And he thinks each country is the same. Which, again, it's wrong for you to think that. In Stockholm, an American wandered the grocery aisles, confused. Where's the frozen food section? I pointed. He returned minutes later. That's it. I explained people shop fresh more often. He laughed. How do you meal prep for a month? You don't meal prep? Yeah, wait, hold on. Do you want to meal prep for a month? No, they don't meal prep. I don't think they just eat whatever it is. They eat, maybe they prepare ahead 2 days ahead, but I don't think it's a week or a month. When I said most people shop several times a week, he stared at me. That's inefficient. Don't you have jobs? I didn't explain culture. I let him believe in Europe had misunderstood productivity. I love this is the second case of just them assuming, oh, it's inefficient. What? My roommate works at a pharmacy in Berlin. An American asked for a year's supply of medication. She explained monthly limits. He protested. I do this all the time at home. She repeated the rules. He searched his phone for American pharmacies in Berlin. I don't think there American pharmacies in Berlin. I think not. Probably not. I don't think you can find one. Finding none, he looked genuinely shocked. How do you survive without CVS? He left convinced European healthcare was backwards, not regulated. I think regulation, it's not always bad, but I get it. I think maybe it's because, I think the American healthcare system, it's such a thing in and out of itself that people are a little scared. So they probably want to have medication for the whole year, but it's like, it's fine. It's going to be okay. You're not going to run out of medication in Berlin, not in the United States. Notice the reflex. When rules differ, they are neutral alternatives. They're framed as obstacles. The assumption is simple. If a system doesn't match American convenience, it must be inferior. No curiosity required. Judgment comes pre-installed. That's harsh. Judgment comes pre-installed. But I agree, of course. It's not neutral. It's just an obstacle. They think it's really, it's got to be something personal. It's up to me. It's anti-American. It's no, of course not. Just it's another thing, and that's it. A friend managing a boutique in Paris told me an American tried on 6 outfits, then asked about 90-day returns after wearing them. The policy was 14 days onward. The customer looked offended. That's ridiculous. An American can return anything. If I were the manager, I would have said that just go back to the United States and buy whatever you want to there. And that's what I would have told them. I think I would be seen as rude. My friend apologized but held firm. The customer left, nothing purchased, later posting a review calling the store unfriendly to Americans. The clothes were fine, the policy wasn't. Yeah, I think it's kind of crazy. In Lisbon, an American insisted on an automatic transmission. Only manuals were available. That's insane, he said. Automatics are better. I suggested public transport. He laughed. I'm not doing that. He left without a car, furious at Europe's audacity. I know, and that's the thing. If you do your research, you know that I don't think Europe, I don't know, they must sell them, right? But I don't think I've ever seen an automatic car in Europe. I guess they are, but I don't know. I think they're just really hard to find. A cafe owner in Prague explained to an American there were no free coffee refills. Oh, everywhere has free refills, he argued. She shook her head. He brought another coffee and complained loudly about cheap service, missing the irony entirely. Yeah, it's not about, because but I think sometimes, not every country, not every place in the United States offer free coffee refills. So it's kind of crazy that he thought, oh, you gotta offer this because not all places in the US are like this. So you have to redefine the little print. What looks like arrogance often begins as unfamiliarity, but it hardens into entitlement when the unfamiliar isn't respected. Travel stops being exploration and becomes a loyalty test. Adapt to me or you're failed. Yeah, but that's the thing about, they don't really understand how travel works. You really do have to adapt because that's not your place. You just kind of, it feels entitled because you're not from here. You have to adapt to us. At a hostel in Dublin, an American asked about laundry service. I showed him coin machines. You don't do it for guests. I explained self-service. He rolled his eyes. I'm paying to stay here. He bought new clothes instead of learning the machines. Okay, this is wild. Instead of washing them, you're getting new clothes? Are you insane? What's up with that? And also, what happened? Did he just throw out his clothes? Did he just I have to buy an extra suitcase because I have extra clothes? What is this? This is crazy. At a bookstore in London, an American asked why prices weren't in dollars. My brother explained pounds. The man sighed. Can you tell me what it costs in real money? After conversations, he asked if they not took demo. They didn't. He left saying in Europe needed modernization. I will agree though, the Venmo I think is really useful, but I guess doesn't London, well, the UK has a system like Venmo? I would assume they do, right? Otherwise, I'm gonna be with the entitled American. But you should guys use Venmo or something similar to that. Working at a gym in Oslo, I quoted a day pass price. The American laughed. That's expensive. Any discount for Americans? I said no. He tried negotiating, explaining US prices. I explained Norwegian wages. He declined, asking why Europe was so overpriced. Well, it's kind of crazy. Well, I think Norway, is really expensive, but it's kind of, I don't know. You think Norway is more expensive than the United States? Yeah, sure. So maybe that's why people complain about the Europe prices. European prices are just a lot more steep than I think a lot of places in the US. In Bridges, an American couple asked for food recommendations. When I mentioned local cuisine, the woman interrupted. Any American food? I suggested trying Belgian dishes. The husband shook his head. Would rather find McDonald's. I pointed them there, silently questioned the trip. It's really funny because, I don't know, Belgian, eat French fries. But it's really funny. I don't know. It's just, you're going to go to Belgium and you're just going to find McDonald's. They're going to have, because I know McDonald's sometimes has regional dishes. So maybe they're taking the shock of their life when they're seeing, but Belgium has some national dishes here in their own McDonald's. I would have loved to see their faces. At some point, preference becomes resistance. The travelers aren't uncomfortable, they're unwilling. They treat adaptation as surrender. The unfamiliar isn't curiosity inducing, it's threatening. Travel becomes consumption, not exchange. That's true. It's not an exchange. I think you kind of lose what's nice about traveling is knowing and understanding new other cultures or just again, learning new things, but they just want to be, they want to be really stuck in their own thing. In Madrid, an American complained most books were in English. I showed the foreign section. That's all he asked. I explained it was a Spanish bookstore. He mattered about lost sales and left. Convinced language itself was a bad customer service. That's really funny. It's, sure. I'm sure your whole, they're going to care about losing one sale because someone was looking for English books and didn't find them in Madrid. At a Copenhagen bank, an American expat grew frustrated opening an account. Requirements annoyed him. In America, you just show ID. He asked for an exception because I'm an American citizen. The banker said no. He left blaming Danish bureaucracy, not his assumptions. Well, yeah, again, it's going to be, oh, you're losing me as a customer. I don't think they care that much about you. In Switzerland, an American asked why dollars weren't accepted. They're stronger, he argued. I explained currencies. He called exchanges scams, then complained about card fees. Before leaving, he said Switzerland would be better if it used dollars. Sure, I agree. I think Switzerland's going to make the switch any point nine. It's kind of crazy that they think, oh, the card fees and stuff, you still get, I mean, in the United States, they still charge you when you use your card. And so they have a huge credit, the credit system is crazy. So whatever, it's why you're complaining about this. The strength is in universal relevance. Power doesn't erase borders. These movements expose an unspoken belief that global systems should orbit American convenience. When they don't, irritation replaces curiosity. Yeah, I think you're just very open, but when you realize things work different, overseas, then it's, oh no, I don't want this anymore. It's true, but I think it's just about, again, they think they're the center of the world, that cliche Americans think everything surrounds them. Well, sometimes it's kind of true. A hotel manager in Athens told me about a guest demanding staff speak proper English. The receptionist slowed down, already fluent. He still complained. Not an American English. The manager suggested adjusting to accents. The guest left a review criticizing poor language skills. Yeah, because they're speaking a neutral, sort of a standard English. I would love to know what kind of accent this person had, because I don't know. You can say a lot of things. There are some accents in the U.S. that are not that easy to parse. So it's kind of insane that you think, I don't know. It must be something that's not very cultured. Sorry. In Florence, an American asked why museums required time tickets. I explained crowd control. He rolled his eyes. Europe's too restrictive. I mentioned U.S. museums do the same. He disagreed. Not the good ones. Organization apparently ruined spontaneity. But I think, do they do this? Maybe I'm gonna say something that maybe sounds bad. I think maybe U.S. museums have less customers. I don't know. Unless you're in a big museum, the MoMA, the Met. But still, I think I would assume maybe they get less visitors in general than museums in Florence, but I don't know, maybe that's me. In Lyon, an American wanted a traditional dish customized beyond recognition. The chef declined politely. Customers always right, the guest insisted. The waiter suggested another dish. The meal continued under protest. The review later accused France of refusing proper service. And I think France, I don't know if this is maybe a cliche, but I think the stereotype is that French, I think chefs in specific, are very just set in their ways, and it's I'm gonna give you this and you're gonna like it. So it's, oh, can I customize this? No, not really. That's how it comes from, and that's it. I think France has a reputation for doing that, so I can't imagine their faces when he was, no, I don't want this and this and that. Customization is cultural. In some places, choice means options. In others, it means trust. Refusing alteration isn't rudeness, it's respect for craft. That distinction is lost when everything is treated as a transaction. Yeah, I think it just depends, because of course it's a cultural dish. It's, unless you have some sort of food allergy or something, it's no, we're not adjusting this dish. The dish comes as it is. So no, you can't. At a cinema in Amsterdam, an American demanded a refund. Why is this movie in Dutch? I pointed to the listing, original language, Dutch subtitles. He accused us of deception. You should warn people. He just hadn't looked. And why is he complaining? He's complaining the original language in Dutch subtitles. You're gonna get the Dutch subtitles, but the original language is gonna be, unless of course the original language wasn't English, and maybe that's why he was complaining. But still, just get it. Who cares about the subtitles? It's the subtitles of whatever, they can be in whatever language you want to. You're just going to be listening to this. A Vienna guy told me Americans kept asking how exhibits related to U.S. history. Why would they relate to U.S. history? When told they didn't, interest faded. Does Astra have any connection to America? The guy realized they expected foreign history to validate familiarity, not challenge it. Yeah, why would a Vienna in Austria would care about American U.S. history unless it's a museum specifically dedicated, for some reason, to U.S. history? That's crazy. I would love an Austrian person to go to the U.S. and ask the same thing. Hey, is this museum? Where's the Austrian history? After years of this, the pattern is clear. Some travelers don't travel to learn. They travel to confirm dominance. That's harsh. When the world doesn't bend, they call it inconvenient, hostile, or backwards. Different becomes wrong. Neutral becomes offensive. Yeah, that's absolutely true. But I think it's just, again, it's a pattern. But hopefully, I think not everyone. I think maybe, hopefully not everyone, because this is really sad, I think. At least I know it's just very sad to me. Especially, I think the whole, you believe, again, being neutral, and it's offensive. It's not. That the world doesn't work like that. One guest finally asked me, why doesn't Europe just become more like America? I asked back, why doesn't America become more like Europe? He laughed, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. Systems are universal. Comfort isn't owed. What a powerful thing. It's true. Comfort isn't owed and systems are universal. Of course, we know what worked for someone. It's not going to work for anyone else or for everyone. And you should know that. I think specifically, again, about systems, specifically, I think when we're talking about countries, it's kind of crazy. Of course, it's not going to be a universal thing. I can't read this. Your guess, they're trying to serve you. They exist despite you. Europe will keep being Europe. America will keep being America. The difference isn't the problem. The refusal to accept it is. Yeah, that's the thing. They don't really understand, I think, the differences, because differences are going to be something that are commonplace. Of course, we're these different continents, not even just different countries. They're just different continents in general. Of course, each of them is going to have their own particularities. Each one of them is going to be different. But I think the problem, is because I think what we love to see the opposite of this video of Europeans visiting the United States and complaining, and Americans complaining about how, Europeans believe this works like this or like that. I would assume it's less of this, and maybe they complain about some other things, or maybe it isn't. Maybe they just, I would assume, but maybe it's just me, and I'm assuming a lot of things. It's about, I think they're not going to complain as much, because I think Europeans have maybe, again, this is very stereotypical of me. I think they probably have a wider point of view. I think they're just a little bit more open, and they don't really take things as personal as a lot of the stereotypical American that travels abroad. Again, I'm not saying every American person is the same. No, of course not. But in general and broadly speaking, I think that's really the problem. And of course, there are Europeans that are extremely entitled, just as the Americans are entitled as well. But I think just generally speaking, I would assume, again, that's why I would love to see this video from the opposite side, because I would love to know if something like this actually exists from the opposite, from the Europeans. I'm going to assume no, but maybe I'm wrong, or maybe they just complain about different things. But I think it's just the level of entitlement. I think it's something that's very, and again, this is maybe a little wrong on me, but I think it's a very American thing. Again, not everyone, because some people are excellent travelers, and you're going to find some Americans that are not really like this, and they're very open to learning. I think they're very open, especially when they travel. They learn new cultures, and they're very, I think you have to approach travel, I think when it comes to, this kind of travel, or basically any kind of travel, as an opportunity to learn. You're learning about a different culture, you're learning about new languages, different people, and it's an opportunity, I think, to learn and sort of broaden your horizons. And I think that's different. I think a lot of people in the United States do not see this as, I'm going to learn new things. I don't really know, though, why they choose to travel, because if that's so much, if you're that bothered about things being so different from the place where you come from, as in when it comes to currencies, when it comes to languages, when it comes to cultural practices such as air conditioning, or what else, the museums thing. I just so many of these examples, bureaucracy, trains, just a lot of habits. If you're that bothered by this, then why are you traveling? If, again, you have to be a little bit more chill about this kind of thing. Because otherwise, again, just stay at home. I promise you're going to be happier. You're going to have a better experience just traveling between the United States, and not just sort of, making someone have a hard time, because at the end of the day, they're paying this on maybe an employee as well. They're not the owner of the store, or the employee, for instance, at a train station. It's just an employee, and they're sort of paying for something. I'm managing this person's wrath. Don't even get me started in hotels. And it's, they're kind of, it's unwarranted. But I get it, or maybe they speak to the manager, but it's the same thing. You're complaining about something that really, why are you complaining about this? There's really nothing to complain. It's just your entitlement that's making you sort of be super offended about this. But again, I promise you, things would be so much easier if you just stayed and you travel between states in the United States. Because again, this doesn't sound like a nice trip, and they're probably gonna return back home. They're gonna have, hey, how was your trip to Europe? And they're gonna be, oh my God, what a nightmare! It was awful. But it's because again, that's how you're approaching traveling. You're not gonna have a good experience. I absolutely, and that goes for people, for Americans, for Europeans, for everyone. I don't think anyone's gonna have a good experience if you're so close-minded and you're not open yourself to new experiences, new foods, new everything. You're just gonna have a hard time. So do not even, why are you traveling? I think it's just best to stay at home. But I think the whole thing about the whole, entitlement, it is a cliche for a reason, sadly. And I would love, again, and what I was saying, I think Europeans tend to be a little bit less of this, maybe because of the nature of how the continent actually is, and you're surrounded by so many other countries. I think maybe that's why they're more open to, and of course they're super used to traveling as well, which I think it's a really big thing that people in the United States simply do not have, because the country is so incredibly big that people simply do not travel overseas. They don't travel abroad. Even within the American continent, they don't really travel, because the country is so big, and maybe there's a bit less of curiosity, maybe because there's just a lot of people in there. There's a lot of American citizens. So maybe I think that's the case. So they don't really get a passport until they're, I don't know, in their 40s, or just crazy. I think for a European person it's hard, I think, to grasp the concept of you've never been abroad, and they're abroad. The first time they've been abroad, or they're traveling outside their own countries, when they're, I don't know, in their middle age. That's crazy. I think for a lot of people in the rest of the world to actually grasp on this concept, it's crazy. Are you telling me you never got your passport? You never sort of traveled anywhere? And it's kind of crazy, but that's the way it works. And I think that's probably why they're so incredibly entitled and close-minded. A lot of people, not everyone, but I think that's where it comes from. Is because they don't really get the chance to travel when they're younger. And when they're, when as a child, they're less exposed to, I think, different to that kind of travel. Maybe that's why they're so close-minded. And with Europe, I think it's the opposite, because again, you have so many things surrounding you that you're just used to traveling to other countries for the weekend, for instance, which I think are a really weird concept to an American citizen, to just, I'm going for the weekend to Germany. It's what? That's crazy. But unless you, again, very specific cases. But again, I'm talking very broadly. But yeah, I think maybe in this day and age, I think we're going to be starting to see, maybe I would hope, that this is a little less common and people are less entitled, because I think, again, people, videos like this, and I think culture in general has shifted towards being more open, and people, I think, are a little bit more, I don't know, just open in general to new cultures and new different ways of traveling. And I'll show you some videos like this to let you know, hey, you know what, it's not cool, because I think maybe some people are just used to this and no one has ever told them it's entitlement. The whole thing about you being like this, it's, again, you don't have to be offended. It's normal, it's neutral, it's fine that things are different. That doesn't necessarily mean an offense. It's just different, and that's it. So maybe videos like this are actually quite educational for Americans to know, hey, I can't actually act like this in the future. So hopefully, in 10, 15 years, or maybe a little bit less, hopefully, we're gonna have to see, I guess hopefully we're gonna be seeing a little bit of a shift, and people are gonna be just, less entitled in general. I can only hope. But that was it for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.